welcome to Print 4 Gaming. This video was a request from one of the viewers who asked if could cover the skirmish rules for one-page rules. The rules are free on one-page rules. Go there and read through them, but I will go through them with the miniatures and kind of show you what it is. I'm gonna turn the camera and get it on the table, and then I'll go from there. Alrighty. Well, we'll start with the basics. We'll go ahead and pull the rules up real quick. Just kind of start at the beginning with them. You can get advanced rules at one-page rules. It's only $5. It's one-time buy-in. When they're updated, you get them updated free. You also get access to the building your army in the Army Forge, which is really nice, especially if you want to create your own army, especially with themes. First thing is like movement. Most units they can move 6 inches. If they have range weapons, they can shoot. Or you got what's known as a rush. They get the double movement to 12. Most people measure from the front of the base. So 12, and then to there. You don't want to measure from the front of the base and then put it in front, because you're going to get an extra inch. So most people do it from the front of the base and just go up to the tip of the that's your basic move and your basic rush. If you want to charge someone, that's called charging. You can like I said, most units only can move 12. So as long as you're within 12 inches, doesn't have to be 12 inches. As long as you're within 12 inches, you can just charge your 6 inches. If, like I said, if you want to shoot, if you have a ranged weapon, you can move up to 6 inches and still shoot. There are rules that will slow you down or speed you up. So, like fast will add an extra 2 inches to your regular move. So instead of moving 6, you'll move 8. And it adds +4 to your charge range, so that'll go from 12 to a 16, so you can get even further charge. You can find your army's stats and stuff on the Army Forge. Just go to one-page rules, select. Make sure I do say this exactly right. I'll do it. Yeah, go to one-page rules. Let me pull it up real quick. Alrighty. At the top, if you pick games, it'll show Grimdark Future, Firefight, Star Quest, Warfleets, Fantasy, Skirmish, Regiment's Quest. Down at the very bottom is Army Forge. That'll take you to the Army Forge. In this case, like this was Fantasy. This was a Fantasy Skirmish, what I just got done filming. So I'd go to Age of Fantasy Skirmish, click on it. It'll take you to the deal. You can build your army on the Forge. You can download the core rules. Pretty pretty simple. Shooting, like I said, most ranged attacks will tell you anywhere between 6 and 30 inches. I can't remember if there's any ranged weapons that are further than that off the top of my head in any army. But say this guy does have a ranged weapon, say it's 12 inches, and he moved no more than 6 inches. If he's within 12, he'd be able to have range on him, and he could shoot. Every model has a quality, and every model has a defense. You use your quality when you're attacking and for your morale checks, and defense for when you get attacked. So we'll take this guy into him. We'll do shooting first, we're just at that. Say he's got a shooting attack, we'll just do a basic attack. Get a die roll. This guy normally is a 4 quality. As long as he had range, he'd roll a die. He rolled a 6. So a 6 always hits, a 1 always fails, no matter what the modifiers are. The orc is usually a defense 5, so he would roll to save. I don't know if that actually rolled, but 6 plus would save. So nothing would happen. So say you go, same thing as if you charge, go in here. He's got, this one actually has impact. We'll do that one real quick. Impact is goes off on a 2+, so anything but a 1. 4 would have the impact go off, so he would have a 5+ save. He saved it. And it also has a claw attack, 1 attack on a 4, hits on a 5. The orc's defense is a 5, rolls a save, he failed. What happens when you fail? Well, normally this is a 3-man unit. A failure would mean one guy dies, you just remove him. Say they'd already taken some damage and it's the last guy. Once he takes a wound, then you would roll what's called a wound roll. The first wound roll, as long as he only taken 1 wound, would have been on a 6+. So if I roll 6, he would just be removed. But rolling a 2, he'd be fine, other than the fact that he would now take a wound marker and would be stunned. When you're stunned, when you go to activate him, the only thing you can do is remove the stun marker. When you're all stunned, your wound rolls are +1. Your wound rolls, once you got wound tokens on them, they start stacking and they'll lower the number it takes to get rid of you. But you're also fatigued, so you only hit on 6+, and you always fail morale checks. So say he's already got a wound on him and he's not shaken. We'll keep it where it's simple right now. Roll a die. If he'd taken another hit, say that was another armor save, he would have failed it. He's already got a wound token on him, so he gets a second wound token. This would be a 6, this would be a 5. Roll a die. As long as you don't roll a 5 or 6, he is not removed. On a 6, he'd be removed, and you just remove him. For each token on him, lowers it, so you can just count them: 6, 5, 4. If he had 2 on him and a green. Remember the shaken makes it +1s, so 6, 5, 4. That's how the small groups work. If you have a guy that has 3 wounds, which is way over there, give me a second. it's a big guy who has 3 wounds to begin with, or 3 toughness. So, say he has taken 2 wounds already. These are not wound tokens, that's just wounds. Say he's doing another wound to him. So he would have finally taken his last wound, so that would take his 3 wounds. So he would remove those, and he would have to do a wound roll on a same thing. On a 6+, he would be gone. Didn't, so he gets a wound, and he's shaken. That's how those one work. That can happen with shooting the same way. So that's your basic combat. I mean, other than the death roll, that's the only thing different really in skirmish. The skirmish games, the attacking is normal. Just when you lose wounds, normally in most of the other games you just remove the model. But in skirmish, we're playing on small battles, and they have a chance to not completely die. Let's see, that was shaken movement. Morale check. Say this guy only dealt 1 wound to him, but he didn't deal a wound back. Morale, when you do hand-to-hand combat, you count up the number of wounds scored. So if he did 1 wound to him and he didn't take any wounds back, the one that took the most wounds would have to make a morale check if they're not dead, and that's off your morale, which would be a 4+ on the big guy, and he would have failed it, so he would have been shaken. Same rules apply with that. Where to go to next? I don't know. I'm not doing very good with this, but it is what it is. Spells. Some guys are casters. You get a spell token for each level that you are. Say he's a level 1, you'll get 1 spell token. Spells are broken up with, they get 2 level 1s, 2 level 2s, and 2 level 3s. Level 1 tokens take 1 token a piece. Level 2 take 2 tokens, and level 3 take 3 tokens. Every round you get tokens equal to their caster deal. So if he was a level 1 and it goes into round 2 and he didn't spend it, he would get another one. You can hold up to a maximum of 6. So if he was like a level 3 and he already had 4 tokens that he just didn't use, maybe he got shaken or something, the next turn he would get, technically he was supposed to get 3 more, but because he's already at 4, he would only gain 2. Spell is a level 1, like I said, you take a spell token per level. So a level 1 spell could take 1 spell, 1 token. Spells go off on 4+ to start. If you have extra tokens, and you can borrow from other spellcasters if they're in range, for every spell token, so that'd be on a 4+, that'd be a 3, 2. And there's no sense of boosting it any lower than that because a 1 always fails. So if you were trying to cast a level 3 spells and you have 3 tokens, it would take the 3 and it'd be on a 4+. If you had 4 tokens on you, it'd become a 3+ if you wanted to use it. Or you could cast a level 3, a level 1. If you have enough tokens, you can even do a level 2. So as long as you have 6 tokens, you can cast 1 level 1, one level 2, and 1 level 3, but they're all at 4+. Like I said, shooting, it just depends on the range. Some weapons have AP, that lowers the defense number. So AP 1, hitting somebody with a defense 5 would take his defense to a 6+. If they're already a 6+, that AP doesn't matter because you can't get any better than a 6 anyway, so 6 always passes. The wound counter thing is what usually throws, I think, most people off. The rest is really simple. Tactics come into play. There's a bunch of different missions you can roll up. You can create your own. Usually there's objectives. Hell, you can play where you're just going to wipe the other person, the first person to wipe the other person off the field. Every model's got a point cost, so it keeps it pretty balanced. Some units have advantages over other units. Obviously, anybody who doesn't have shooting has to get up into hand-to-hand combat, and if you have shooting and you're a long ways away, they get couple turns to shoot at you before you get there. There's cover. If you're sometimes you're in a group of trees, that'll give you cover. That's +1 defense. I think we had a couple times in a game where they were trying to shoot over the hills and stuff. They could see the model, but most of it was blocked, so they got a cover save. There are some weapons that ignore cover. I don't know if that helped much, but that's the basics of the game. Difficult terrain. Say this hill is difficult. Unless you have Strider or flying, the most you could move is 6 inches. So normally he could run 8, but if that's difficult terrain and he doesn't have Strider, the most he can go is 6. And if he's in there, while he's on it, 6 inches is the most he can go. Even though he's coming out on the next turn, the most he could go is 6 inches. Once he's off of it completely at the beginning of his activation, then he can move his normal movement. Now, if you have like Strider, they can get their full movement. He could he could run all the way if you want. The difficult terrain penalty doesn't apply to Strider. If you fly, usually you get your movement, and you can fly over buildings. So. You'd have to go through every one of the individual rules to learn. They added a bunch of weapon rules just recently with the new rules. We usually keep tokens for activations. We usually use the clear ones for activations, just to show that you used the guy. You only get 1 activation per round unless you have some kind of special rule that activated a second time. I usually use the red for wound markers, green for stun, and purple or light blue for if they got a bonus or something. Now, like in the regular game, other than skirmish, this unit is like a 5-man unit. So they just condensed it down a little bit. Your guys are like a 10-man unit to start. But yeah, hopefully that helps. Like I said, the rules are pretty simple. Objectives. You've got an objective. It's usually a 3 inches from the objective. This thing's almost 1 inch across, so I always just go 2 inches from the edge. As long as you're within 2 inches of it, you control it. If there's an enemy unit that's considered contesting, there are times that you still own it, depending on what type of objective. They're called sticky objectives. Once you own it, it's yours. Even though somebody comes over here, you have to kill him to take control of it. Yeah, that's all in the rules. The basic, simple read. They have the basic rules are 1 page front, 1 page back. That's why it's called 1 page rules. The advanced rules, let's see. Can't show you them, but the advanced rules, let's see, is how many pages? 68 for the skirmish. So it contains all the basic rules, but then it also adds a bunch of extra rules you can use. You can add, subtract the rules as long as you and your opponent agree to them. There's different starting zones, different missions. It adds a bunch more missions to them. Side missions, special actions. So you can make it as complicated as you want. The more rules you add, the longer the game takes. I think skirmish game takes, I think we've been doing them in about 35 minutes once everybody's set up on the field. Setup can go, once you get used to it, setup can be pretty quick. Once you get your zones and your objectives on the field, it goes by pretty quick. Yeah, that's pretty much it. In skirmish, if your units, say you started off with 8 units, as soon as you go below like half, I think it is. Let me double check that. Is it double half or at half or below half? I can't remember exactly. I tend to forget the rule, truthfully. It's usually after it's way too late that I was like, oh yeah, we were supposed to roll for that. Half or less at the end of each round. If an army is down to half or less, then all units must take a morale test. Say, and I'll just do the orcs here because I got them there. Say they're shaken. Say he's fine. Morale check on him would be a 4+. If they're down to half, he didn't roll a 4, so he would become shaken. This unit's already shaken. Morale on a 5+. Failed it, so being they're already shaken, they would be removed from the field. It just speeds up the game a little bit. But that, so yeah. Like I said, I don't know much. Like I said, everything else is pretty standard. The rules for occupying buildings or building like this one here, you usually don't have to occupy it. You just kind of go in it. Usually any building that's just fully enclosed, you occupy. Go up in the buildings like these if you want. This building comes apart, so you can put people down in there if you wanted to. You can start people up on top. There's rules for moving down and running. Usually the distance down is part of your movement. So if you're on the top there, it would be a 6-inch movement just to go down to the bottom floor. You can run, if you ran, you'd have another 6 inches, unless you were fast, you'd get more. But yeah, there's like blast weapon, blast 3, I'll explain those so that say he's got a blast 3 weapon, he hit one time. It's a blast 3. The orcs would only roll. Say it was 1 hit. The orcs would only roll to defend against the 1 hit. They would have needed a 5. They rolled a 2, so they took a blast 3 hit. That 1 hit turns into 3, so each one of these would have taken a wound. So in the skirmish, he would remove the 2, 1 would stay left. He would make a death roll. He rolled a 6, he'd be removed 2. If he didn't, he would have taken a wound marker and been stunned. Now, deadly, that kind of is something that throws people off too. Say he's got a 1 hit, deadly 3. He's going up against a unit of 3 guys. Say he hits, say they fail. Deadly 3 does 3 wounds to 1 model, so it would just kill him. Another hit would kill another one. Now, if you got down to the last model, the wounds carry over. So if he did 1 hit and he failed it, it would take deadly 3. The first one would kill him, and then he would have 2 extra that went through. So that would increase his roll from his initial roll to a 6 to a 5 to get. And that's a 1. So he would have been fine. Now, blast works against groups of people. Say he has a blast 3 attack. This also throws people off. Say he hits. He has 1 hit, blast 3. Being there's only 2 models, even though they fail, it only does 2. So it would kill this one and that one. Blast, depending on if it's 6 or 3 or whatever, it only hit a number of. Say it was a blast 6 and there's only 3 guys here, it'd only do 3 hits. It wouldn't do 2 on each. So that's one of the rules that kind of mess with new players of blast and deadly. Now this guy's a toughness 3, and say this guy's a toughness 3, and say he's deadly. And if he rolled to wound him and he failed his his armor save, his defense save, then he would take 3 because he is a tough 3. And he's 1 model, and he's got 3 wounds. So that would outright kill him. If he had 6 wounds, he would just drop to 3. And just keep track of that. But yeah, if this deadly 3 hit him and took all 3 wounds, so then that removed all of his wounds, he would have to take a death roll on a 6+. 3, he'd be fine. He would get 1 token to start with. Now say he'd already taken 2 hits and then the deadly 3 hit again. 1 would take him down his last wound, but the other 2 wounds would still go through. Just add those 2. 6, 5. And say he hit him again, after he has 2 wound tokens and does 3 more hits to him, that would add 3 to him. So now you're at a 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So anything but a 1. So eventually, you get enough wounds code tokens on them, they're all going to be taken out one way or another. But there it is kind of annoying when you can get one guy that just can't get rid of him because you're just one wound, and they just keep rolling low on the death roll. But yeah, that's most rules. Deadly terrain or a dangerous terrain check. So say this was dangerous terrain and he moved in it. Every time he moves in or activates inside of it, he does a dangerous terrain test. He's toughness 3, so you would roll a die for each one. For for every one he would take a wound. So that was his first one, second one, and third one he would have passed. That's dangerous terrain. But yeah. I know some of the new spells have, like, if it'll tell you, I think Rupture is one, something like that. It says like it says the spell says it does 2 hits, and it has Rupture. Rupture will give you like extra hits on a 6. You don't roll to hit with your spell, but you roll a die for each one of the hits. Being it said 2 hits, if I rolled a 3 and a 6, that 6 would give that 2 hit, turn it into a 3 hit, and then you would do the spell effect of 3 hits on the target. There's a couple of new rules that kind of add that. So, because like I said, when you do a spell, usually it'll say how many hits. That's how many hits you actually do. You don't have to roll to hit them. The roll is just to see if you get 6s to add bonuses to your hit. But yeah, that's the rules. I hope I explained it simple enough. I said most of it is just whatever special rules. You can get a tablet, computer, phone. Anytime there's a special rule on the Army Forge, if you just tap it or hover over it, it'll bring up a little box and it'll tell you exactly what it is. You can print out the armies if you don't want to keep using your phone or whatever, and it'll give you all your stats for your guys, and underneath it'll give all your special rules that you're using, and it also it'll put your spell list on there. So you can just have a sheet of paper. I might have one over here somewhere. I think I printed a couple off. I think I had a tournament one we used. Yeah, Michigan tournament. Ooh, that was a fun one. Thanks guys for hosting that. But yeah, so here's my armies that it has, and then listed all the. Here's all my special rules, and then on the back was my spells. So you can do that. It's a lot easier if it's right in front of your face. But they do have a one that does like the cards. I don't know if I did that for my brother one or not. I know he's blind to the back and can't read the damn things. Let me see if I got one that has a card version. Give me just a second. Not where I know I have one laying around, so maybe one of these days I'll have one of those printed out. Sometimes I do print them out. I try not to, being that I have the tablet. So, I hope that was what you were asking for. It's a pretty fun game. The skirmish games are really quick. Like I said, you can make them as complex as you want if you get the advanced rules. As long as your opponent agrees, you can pick and choose which ones you want. You know, they do have a few where you can roll, and it's a advanced rule packages. So if you roll on this one, you only use this set of advanced rules, so it can change every time. But yeah, so hope you enjoy. Hope this helps anybody who wanted to, you know, it's my wife and daughter, they like the quest, and I think they like the skirmish the best. I don't think they really like the big battles as much, but they're little. But they wanted to help with the channel, so have a good one, and we'll see you next time.